At last, the long-awaited expansion for Elden Ring is upon us. This video will help you ensure that you are ready to enjoy the new content immediately upon the June 21st, 2024 release of this new DLC. As confirmed by Hidetaka Miyazaki in an exclusive interview with IGN, the entry point to this DLC area is Miquella's Cocoon, which can be found after an optional boss encounter at the end of Mogwin's Palace. This means that to play this DLC, you must have a character that has progressed to this point in the game. For starters, I would recommend following these steps with a character that is still in the base game cycle, as the DLC areas in From Software games tend to be quite challenging, and attempting this in New Game Plus or higher means that the enemies and bosses will be scaled up in difficulty accordingly. There are two different ways to access Mogwin's Palace. The first of which is by following the NPC questline of White Mask Vare, a character that you meet very early on in the game. To follow this questline, you must make sure not to attack him when you first encounter him in Limgrave, and your next encounter with him will be in the Liurnia section of the map at the Rose Church after beating the first shard bearer, Godric the Grafted, in Stormville Castle. For an in-depth guide on the remaining steps of his questline, click on the video link in the top right corner of this video or in the video description below. The final step of this quest will warp you to Mogwin's Palace, which also happens to be the best rune farming spot in the game. The second method to reach Mogwin's Palace is via a teleport in the consecrated snowfield area of the map. This method can only be done late in the game after you have defeated Morgott in the Leyndell Royal capital. To reach the consecrated snowfield, you must have both halves of the Haligtree Medallion, the first of which can be obtained by talking to an NPC in the village of the Albinarics. Upon speaking with Albus, he will give you the first half of the medallion. The second half is found in Castle Sol, which is a relatively difficult dungeon in the mountaintop of the Giant section of the map. Reaching this half of the medallion requires defeating Commander Niall, who happens to be a formidable foe. The medallion can then be found on the rooftop after the fight. After obtaining both halves of the Haligtree Medallion, you must traverse back to the Grand Lift of Rold, which happens to be the same place that you used to access the mountaintop of the Giants in the first place. With both halves of the medallion in your possession, you can now select the option to hoist the secret medallion. Selecting this option will lead you to the consecrated snowfield. Once there, your vision will be obstructed by a blizzard, so follow your compass to pick up the map fragment. With the map fragment obtained, travel to this point on the map to reach a teleporter, which will then send you straight to Mogwin's Palace. Once at Mogwin's Palace, the job is not done yet. You still need to defeat the boss at the end, Moog, the Lord of Blood, who happens to be one of the most challenging bosses in the game. To assist your effort, I highly recommend using a level 10 Spirit Ash, the Mimic Tear, or Black Knife Tiche. Both work really well. If you need help with this area, I have a full guide through this section of the game that you can get to by clicking the link in the top right corner or in the video description below. After defeating Moog, congratulations, you are ready to experience what will perhaps be From Software's greatest work to date. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.